Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. And it's always nice to have you on, and we thank you for joining us live. Let's see who's coming up here first on our Brahim. You're back to number one this morning. Andrea, Niagara Falls, good morning to you. We appreciate you coming on. Eric, bonjour. Sandy from Fergus Falls, Minnesota. John, how are you? Nativity, good morning. And Madeleine, Kippawa, Quebec, bonjour. And let me see here. Fran from Orangeville, good morning. And Kevin, there he is from Oshawa. Maria, Ottawa. Jeanette from our staff. And Jeanette, good morning. Karen from Little Britain. Rita, good morning. And Danny, how are you? And Joanne from Berks Falls. And Rita's from Wasaga. Wendy, good morning from Markham. Donna from Park Hill. Lynn Marie, how are you? And Jeanette saying hi to everyone. Linda, St. Jude, Quebec. Sylvie, North Bay. Marlene, good morning from Newfoundland. Monica, Grand Bay, Quebec. And Karen, how are you? Donna, Newfoundland. And who was it? Helga. Hi, Helga. Dave, Cardiff. And Melika. And Linda. And Sean, there he is. And Nicole, how are you? Magog, Quebec, bonjour. Diane, Thunder Bay. And Sue, how are you? April. And Donna is saying good morning to Elaine. Heather. Miramichi. And IT, I believe. Deb, Timmons. Annette. And Carol, Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. And, Marine. And let me see here. Tilsonburg, who was that? It went up into the clouds. I couldn't. Veronica, how are you? Kristen, Saskatchewan. Okay, we appreciate you guys. Leela, Werner. Okay, Rosa. Now, as many of you might know, Tony Jr. lives in Florida. And boy, they got hit last night with that hurricane. So we're praying for everybody in Florida. And my son, his place, no damage, but right around his area in Port St. Lucie area, boy, they got hit. One place in got hit by tornadoes that came in ahead of time from the hurricane, and in one place in Fort Pierce, which is just a neighboring place, I think 35 people were killed in a trailer park there, a tornado. So let's pray for everybody in Florida. People have been asking about my daughter in Tiffany. My youngest daughter involved in a car accident, and she's very, very slowly improving, but we're thankful for your prayers. It's going to be a long road to recovery for her, but thank you again for praying. You know, you're part of my family, and it seems like that. Okay, so this morning I just wanted to talk. This is sort of downwind. You know, yesterday we talked about insulin resistance and how sugar affected your eyes. And sugar affects everything. And listen, okay, in 2021, I think I brought to you this before, 300 million prescriptions for antidepressants. 300 million in America. Prescriptions for antidepressants. I mean, mental health is a big thing. But one thing we know, about depression. There's a couple of things we know, but there's a new study out, and it talks about eating and depression and exercise and depression. And they're showing about resistant exercise. This is a brand new one. Resistance training beats meds. This is the headline. Resistant training beats meds for depression. Crazy. And again, when we look at the brain, and I've talked to you about this many a time, the brain is headquarters for energy. Whatever you eat, 25% of that is taken by the brain. It's like the federal government on income taxes. Before you can spend any money, when you get a paycheck, the government takes their portion, right? And when it comes to eating, your brain, because its headquarters, takes 25% of that food to turn it into energy for the brain to work. So if you use the wrong fuel, and this is one of the things that we love to talk about, is changing fuels. Because most people today are weaned on a very heavy carb dominated diet, sugar laden diet, and the brain suffers. The brain suffers. And we're sort of going downstream from what happens when you eat sugar. We talked about it. Like from, from teeth. Where did I put my little chart here? Okay. So sugar is the enemy to, okay, so we showed this yesterday, and we spent some time yesterday on the eyes. What happens? First thing that's destroyed is capillaries. And downstream, eyes get affected. And we showed that study where they took 100 patients with glaucoma, and 99 of those 100 had some form of metabolic syndrome. Listen to me, you can't get metabolic syndrome. You can't unless you're eating a bad diet. And 93% of the population have some form of metabolic syndrome. They're eating too much sugar. It's as simple as that. They're carboholics. And I'm not even talking about crappy oils that they're eating when it's highly processed food. The pancreas goes crazy. And it can't keep up to the sugar intake. And the last thing that happens is diabetes, not the first thing. But 99%, 99 out of 100 people had problems with metabolic syndrome, which is a problem of sugar. It's a food problem. Okay? So we talked about this yesterday. Sugar is the enemy to your eyes. Sugar is the enemy to your cells, cancer. We spend a fair amount of time on that. I think I got a new study on cancer. Hold on. Yes, I do have a new study. Listen to this, okay? Got to get my notes out. This is research on breast cancer, and I'll come back to depression. I'm going down a rabbit trail. Research on breast cancer, okay? A significant reduction in metastasis. A significant reduction in metastasis in people, in women that had breast cancer. Listen to this study. It's really interesting, okay? 65% reduction in metastasis. Okay, so we're already talking about women who had breast cancer, but if they implement 3 things, change their diet, start exercising, and get in the sun or take vitamin D. Guys, change fuels. So what these people did, they got the memo from the Martin Clinic. No, it wasn't my study. But they got the memo about cutting out sugar out of their diet. They already had breast cancer. They were already diagnosed. But in order for that cancer to not become metastasize to anywhere else in the body, implementing lifestyle changes made a huge, significant, as the study says, difference in the invasive cancer. They didn't get it. A 65% reduction. Now, I wonder if that's going to become mainstream. Probably not. It should. It should. Right? Okay. We'll go down the list. So, okay? Sugar. Your enemy. To your eyes. To your cells. Cancer cells. Cut out sugar before you get cancer. And like I was saying yesterday, everybody, when I'm pointing out at you and I'm pointing back at me, you're fighting cancer daily. Renegade sales. If you have an immune system, it's so key. Keep your vitamin D up. One of the greatest things you can do for cancer. Sure, cut out sugar, but keep your vitamin D levels high. That's been proven of optimizing your vitamin D. Most people have no clue what their vitamin D levels, their dehydroxy 25 vitamin D levels in their blood. They have no clue. Nobody's told them. Nobody's told them. And I understand that, doctors, they're reticent to take the test or do the test. And because they don't see the connection, but you do. It's worth spending, if you can do it, $50 or whatever, insist on getting your vitamin D. It can save your life. I used to surprise people. When we tested for vitamin D and they were low, they had no idea. Why didn't someone tell me this? Yeah, I know. It's an essential biomarker, guys, okay? So sugar is enemy to your eyes, to your cells, to your blood. Obviously, diabetes. It's like my dad used to say, son, it's sugar diabetes. In the 1960s, I knew that. My dad never had another ounce of sugar. He used to put sugar in his coffee, he stopped. He used to love soda, he stopped. Well, he drank diet soda in the 60s, and I'm not kidding you. But there's nobody on the planet that ate more steak than my father. He said, well, I'm a sugar diabetic, son. Okay. And then I go to school in the 70s, and they're trying to teach me moderation and diabetes treatment. Well, you need a chocolate bar. Your blood sugar is going down. No wonder I suffered with migraines. Not really. When I tell you that, I say it facetiously. But I mean, it gives me a migraine when I think of the stupidity that I learned in school about diabetes. Okay, so sugar is an enemy to your blood. And guys, you know this. Sugar is tightly regulated in your blood. Your body knows, your bloodstream knows, you just can't have a lot of sugar in there. If you eat 20 donuts, your insulin's going to go crazy in order to bring that blood sugar down. And what insulin resistance is when people insist on eating sugar and crappy carbohydrates and you're using insulin all day long. Eventually, your cells resist it and now you use more. And you use more insulin and eventually insulin doesn't work anymore. And then you get diabetes. But that's the last thing to happen. Already, before the diagnosis of diabetes, your eyes are starting to be affected. Your cells are being affected. Your blood obviously is affected. Your brain is affected. This is where I want to stop for a minute. Alzheimer's is what? What did they win a Nobel Prize in medicine for naming Alzheimer's? Type 3 diabetes. 2005. 2005. And they, even today, they haven't changed the treatment for Alzheimer's. Depression, 300 million prescriptions for antidepressants in 2021. 300 million. Now, I'm not saying all depression is food. I'm not. But it's a factor. And when they cleaned up their diet and they gave them vitamin D and they gave them B12, depression patients did a whole lot better. And vitamin E, exercise. Imagine getting a prescription from your doctor. Here is an antidepressant. Take these 3 things. Cut out sugar. Get in the sun. And start exercising. Wow. The brain, of course, in kids, you have ADHD, ADD, they're given these medications they're canaries in the coal mine, these kids. And their brains they're super sensitive and they're getting the wrong fuel. Instead of getting fat, they're getting sugar. You see, your brain thrives on fat. Eggs, meat, cheese, dairy. Not milk, unless you have a cow in the backyard. But cream, that's fat. Your brain thrives on fat. When you go fat-free, you got trouble. You got trouble. And, I talked about this yesterday, but I'll come down here because I want to show the connection between your gut and your brain. Your gut and your brain. There's a big connection. Hippocrates said 2,000 years ago, all disease. I remember, I was in school, we learned about Hippocrates. And he said, all diseases start in the gut. This is in the 1970s for me. And, sort of, I didn't say no. I just said, that's interesting. But what did we know in the 1970s about the microbiome? We knew nothing. We didn't know about, what we know today about the microbiome. It's incredible. And you got more hormones in your gut than you have in your brain, but they're connected. They're connected through the blood, and they're connected through the vagus nerve. There's a huge connection between your gut and your brain. And we talked about this in the past. When you take antibiotics and you destroy your flora in your gut, these people have a huge, there's a huge difference in obesity rates. There's a huge difference in depression rates. There's a huge difference in ADD and ADHD in kids. And I was big on that, on leaky gut. For the last 40 years, I've been talking about it. But I sure didn't learn it in school. We learned a little bit about the gut, but we talked about, IBS and IBD and diverticulosis and Crohn's, although it was rare. And celiac, rare, but not anymore. These things are not rare. The gut is being affected, and sugar downstream will destroy the gut. And one of the biggest things, and we talked about this, is when sugar, it's not only negative, think of how toxic sugar is to your teeth. It'll destroy the enamel in the teeth. Can you imagine what it does in the gut? It just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time for it to destroy. One of my lights went out. Okay, and so this is important. This is why if you do nothing else but cut out sugar, what a difference it makes. What a difference it makes. Now, brain. Adults, Alzheimer's. Adults, depression. Kids, ADD. Hyperactivity. Can't focus. Huge problems. Okay, so let's go downstream a little further. And we're going to go to the joints. Okay? We have a condition caused by sugar. Now listen, glycation is a word that I want you to understand. Okay? Glycation. And one of the tests that I love to look at is called your A1C, your hemoglobin, okay? In the middle of every red blood cell, you have hemoglobin. It carries your oxygen. It's like Velcro. But you know what happens? Sugar sticks to it. It sticks to the hemoglobin, and it glycates. It ages the hemoglobin. It's called glycation. And that happens in the skin. So people, listen, they blame the sun for what sugar does. They blame salt in the kidneys. Okay, we're going to get to the kidneys? Oh, I didn't even put the kidneys here. Ooh, I got to put kidneys down here. I'll do it after. Okay. But the joints and the skin get glycated with sugar. Okay? The joints and the skin get glycated. Aging, loss of elasticity in the joints, what they call caramelization of the joint. Glycation, it ruins your... That's why, guys, even on the reset, people said, gee, you know how many testimonies? Thousands over the years. Boy, my joints feel better when I change fuels. My joints feel better. Incredible. And your skin will be better when you cut out sugar because it glycates. Glycation will destroy your collagen in your skin, in your joints. It's called glycation. It's a form of oxidation. It's a factor, okay, in premature aging of joints and of skin. We talked about the teeth. We talked about the gut. One of the biggest things in the gut is when one of the biggest things in the gut is sugar destroys the gut. But the other thing it does, it feeds that bad army, and we talked about that. Yeast, Candida albicans, one of the worst things. Okay, one of the worst things. Might as well do kidneys, even if I didn't write it down. Here, I'm going to put it, number 9. Kidneys. The Niagara Falls. Why are kidneys affected? Well, ask a diabetic. Why are kidneys affected? Okay? Kidneys. Why are they affected? Because your kidney operates on blood supply. Yeah, nerves too, but nerves get damaged. That's another thing that I got to write down. Okay? Blood supply is the key, even to your nerves. That's why you get neuropathy. Okay? What is neuropathy? What's diabetic neuropathy? People that got numbness and tingling and pain in their limbs, in their feet, in their hands. Blood supply is affected first, and that affects the nerves. And the kidneys, the Niagara Falls. I'll tell you the 2 biggest things you can do. Start drinking water and stop eating sugar for your kidneys. It's amazing. And you know, it's amazing medicine still today. Here we are in 2024. Even though they know all about diabetes, even though there are more places for kidneys, there's more kidney disease today than ever. Chronic kidney disease, and diabetics are at the top of the list for having their kidney problems. And today you have all these centers for dialysis. And yet, here we are. If you talk to a physician, generally, about food and kidneys, here's what they're going to tell you. Almost invariably, 99%. Cut out your protein. Stop eating too much steak. It's hard on your kidneys. No, it's not. Don't blame steak for what sugar has done to your kidneys. Dialysis. Why is there so much dialysis today? Why is there so much chronic kidney disease today? It's sugar. Sugar. Ooh. I got to put number 10, nerves here. The more I started talking about it, I'm going to put neuropathy here. My word. Okay. Okay, guys. Tomorrow's what? Question and Answer Friday. We love you dearly. Send in your questions. Look, if you put a question here, okay, during the program, I can't see it. Believe me, when it scrolls by after I start talking, good luck. I can't see it. And a lot of you have questions. Please send it to info@martinclinic.com. Send that same question that you have. Just send us an email, info@martinclinic.com. This way I will answer that question. Otherwise, I can't guarantee I'm going to answer it if I don't see it. Okay? info@martinclinic.com. Guys, we love you dearly. Talk to you soon.